Hello, everyone. Welcome to another inspiring episode of BizTalks Unplugged, candid conversation on business, presented by INR The Insight Room, where we open the floor to unrestricted and unscripted dialogues for curious business minds. Our today's conversation is not about speaking better, it's about being so present that people listen differently. Our today's guest needs no introduction. He's a former entrepreneur, he's a creative leader, and a political communication strategist. He's known for creating fearless, non-judgmental conversations, spaces that unlock clarity and action. He's an executive leadership coach working globally with presidents, CXOs, founders, and senior leaders. He's a prolific TEDx speaker, a best-selling author of By the Flowing River, published by Pan Macmillan. He's a founder and a co-creator of Master the Stage, India's advanced public speaking program. Yes, you have guessed it right. Our today's guest is Mr. Vivek Singh. Welcome, sir. It's an absolute honor to have you with us today. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Srijan and Ankush. It's an absolute delight to be here. Go
So
ahead.
yes, sir. So you basically work at the intersection of leadership, psychology, silence, and speech, and we are
Mhm.
grateful to learn what truly moves people. Our first segment, as we move forward, is the inner journey from doing to being. Uh, it is largely understood that executive presence is not a charisma; it's a congruence. So, what do you actually think about it, sir? And there is a second part that is, what was your early career identity was, and how have you found that later inner calling?
Thank you. Let me address the second question first, and then we'll touch upon executive presence. So I belong to a small town called Sitamarhi in Bihar, and when I came to Delhi in 1997, the world was evolving, and for me, it was completely new planet. The way people spoke, the way people carried themselves. I struggled forget English even with Hindi. And after I completed my graduation, when I started going for jobs, before I got the first job, I had lost more than 50 interviews. And I realized communication is a very, very critical factor in your career growth or career job selection. So I started working at a small company, worked there for a few years. Then I set up a company called Synthesis Consulting. Since I had failed so much, I knew how to, uh, I knew all possible ways to fail. And the company started training people how to crack interviews. And all those who had tried a few times, they were struggling. They we shared a couple of strategies, and they got through. We over time helped many people. I ran that company for a few years and then realized that I'm stuck in my growth. So I decided to take a break and get back after running that company, Synthesis Consulting, for a few years. I decided to get back to work. And fortunately, I got a job with HSBC, and that was the turning point of my life, of my career. When I got into HSBC first time, I got to stay in a five-star hotel. I got to fly, got to learn quite a bit. There are many colleagues who groomed me. I worked for over 2 years there and got exposure to many tools, technologies, got to understand how large companies function, what are the uh, what's the scope for creating value for them, how to conduct myself, my executive presence first. got better when I was working with HSBC. And they take care of their people well. They groom you well, they invest in you. I'm yet to find a company which is so sincere about its people development. And then I got an opportunity to lead learning and development for a very large retail company in the Middle East. I joined them as a country head for learning and development. Worked there for over 5.5 years. Got exposed to 35 nationalities. Got to work with people at all levels. Design learning strategies for the organization. Taking the company and navigating through change management. And then I decided to come back to India in 2012. Started a production house. You might have heard the song Lamborghini Chalai Jande. That's a very popular song. So that's from the same production house. So I set that up, ran that production house for over 4 years. Then I handed over that to my partner. And as I wanted to get into executive coaching, that has always been my calling. So the idea of getting into executive coaching came at the time when a word like this did not exist in India. I wanted to work with top leaders, help them sharpen their craft, take right decisions, contribute more. And the idea of getting into business was that I felt if I straight away move from HR learning and development to coaching, I may not have enough ground level experience, personal experience of running an enterprise, struggling, managing P&L, doing sales. So when I started this company, initially when you have a small startup, now people have started calling it startup. Those days it was just starting a business. You end up doing everything. So prior to that, I'd never done sales, I'd never done marketing, I'd never done operations. I was doing all of that, and I got to realize what challenges a person who is running a large business faces. After that, I managed election campaign for a political party. Got to work with uh, Prime Minister's office and in shaping PM's communication to the masses. And then in 2016, I decided to take a break from all those things and get into full-time executive coaching. Since then, I've been working with leaders from all over the world. Along the way, I took a break. I went on a pilgrimage. Uh, I summarized my learning in this book that you see in the background, By the Flowing River. Came back, started a public speaking program called Master the Stage. We take pride in calling most intensive public speaking program in the world. I have the privilege of coaching the professors and speakers at IIT Delhi and more than 300 people who wanted to go for TEDx talk. So I'm a mentor for TEDx talk as well. Currently, I work with senior folks, usually CXOs, CEOs in large corporation, help them navigate through all the challenges they face in the boardroom, outside the boardroom, dealing with employees, navigating market conditions, and anything that comes along the way. So if you look at inflection point, there are two. One, when I got my first job, and the second one when I pivoted from uh, full-time employment to my own enterprise. And the journey has been delightful. I feel I'm lucky that I've been able to explore so much more in such a short span of time. With every experience, I got to learn something that kept adding on to what I do next. And I feel privileged and blessed to be in this profession. Anything that you want to know more about me, then please feel free to ask.
So, as you have mentioned that you started this, this calling of yours, the executive coaching. People, uh, as much as I've seen, that people don't actually, change very easily. So, how do you convince these people, or more like these leaders, to do different and be better, or perhaps do better? Because years and years of experience they might have had, they might be facing a particular problem. So what is your approach, and how do you just bring your own journey and try to do these things?
Yeah. Very interesting question. Many of us believe that people are not willing to change. Uh, the people who approach a coach, they are not ordinary people. They are already extraordinary. They have very high level of self-awareness. There are certain areas where they want to reach, but they struggle to, and there is a gap they are already aware of. And when they approach a coach, they come up with challenges, because if you do not have a goal, it becomes very difficult uh, for you to get coached. Most of the people who approach us, they have clarity of where they want to be. They know where they want to go. They have fair amount of awareness about their struggle as well. When they get into the conversation with us, we crystallize their blind spots and share with them. And most of the people who I work with are older than me, more experienced than me. They have seen the world more, they're more resourceful, but they leave me humbled that despite their massive success, huge resourcefulness, they come with a lot of humility and openness. And when we find that missing, and we see that it's not possible, the person is not open, because there are also set of people who are willing to work, but they're not willing to change. They want to reach there, but they're not willing to work towards it. They're not open to feedback. So to them, we end up putting them on getting ready plan, or many times we let them know that maybe we are not the right fit. But largely, we meet people who are very warm, very open, very ambitious, very aspirational, very exploring. And uh, recently, I was working with a gentleman. He runs a business, and when we started the coaching, he said that, Vivek, so I am. This is going to be the biggest invest in myself, in my life. I could see his concern around the investment. I asked him that, what can you achieve in this month so that you feel that this is the best investment of your life? Next week, he comes back to me with the answer to this question. In a month's time, the productivity, the production of his company shot up by 34%. Last week, I was talking to the gentleman. He said that this year we have clocked the turnover that never happened in the company, that too in the off season. This is the third generation running that business. So such possibilities emerge, and the commitment to what they display, the openness that they show, that leaves you humble and inspired. So with every coaching conversation, the coach also grows and gets empowered to coach better next time.
I can actually, sir, very much relate to this in a very short way. Recently I been to a university, and there I met an interesting individual. He started his own business in Bengaluru, and he was talking about what and why you have started this this podcast platform, this INR the Insight Room. And I was not able to sort of give him a response that actually satiated his own mind. So he gave me a very quick discussion about that. What's the art of stakeholder management? And within that, he actually said that the step one should be that what is your interest in doing things. It took me almost a week to think about it, and then I realized that perhaps I started this platform was because I wanted to hear these stories of people, and their experiences, their journeys is so interesting because everyone is perceiving life in many ways, and they are bringing their own thoughts, their own actions, sometimes some very unique way of approach, and it's also attracting for me. And I believe now if I were to give that man the response to what he actually asked for, I can actually do that. So yes sir, you have, as you've mentioned, that the that clarity is something which is very vital. There is something that still I'm still not able to perhaps grasp, is that uh, what has changed in how you listen to an individual when you began it, and how you are doing it right now.
This is very important question. For humans, I believe listening is one of the most underrated skills. Since childhood, we have been told that go out and speak. When you speak more, you gain more, you get more. If you ask me, when you listen more, you develop an extraordinary leverage. And before you listen others, you must figure out a way to listen to yourself. Most of us are clueless about what we want in life, where we are headed, where we are going, be it conversation or in general life. Because none of us have been trained to develop this art of listening. The first step to that, if you ask me, would be being present. You're always distracted, our mind is running. There's a parallel conversation running when you're talking. Always some judgment is being formed. The moment you shut down all the conversation and be in the present moment completely, paying absolute attention without any distraction, without anticipating what to ask next, without thinking that I'm going to show up smarter or not. That's where the listening happens. So I struggled badly with listening in the early phase of my career, even as a coach. Now I believe I do it better. I still find scope uh, to get better at it. Usually in coaching conversation, I believe I am good, but when it comes to talking to my family members, close friends, there I speak more than needed. So if someone wants to listen well, the first step is being present. Do some exercise, observe your breathing a few times. The simplest exercise could be just paying attention to your breathing, move to abdominal breathing, breathe in, abdomen expands. Breathe out, abdomen contracts. Pay attention to it, do it 5 times, and suddenly you feel more grounded, more present. Similarly, there are a few meditation, other exercises too that you can do that will, in all likelihood, make you being present. Third thing is also to get ready for the conversation. So before we start the conversation, we do not prepare ourselves, particularly if it's a difficult conversation. So we just land into it. When you prepare yourself for the conversation, one of the things could be committing that you're going to be there to listen, be there to be curious, be there to be open to understand other viewpoints, be there not to interrupt. Be there to respect, not to prove. So when you set these intents before the conversation, you start on a good note. And when the other person senses your intention, he or she would feel safer to be vulnerable, feel safe to be open and candid, and you get to understand each other more. So the idea of listening is to understand, because none of us have complete understanding of how the other person thinks. Even if you are best of the listeners, humans have the limitation of inability to communicate what I have in my mind to yours. So that's the basic preparation. Once you are good with it, maybe you can learn the art of asking the right questions, to probe, to explore, learning how to clarify, how to inquire. Acknowledgement goes a long way. Creating safe space for people to be vulnerable. Okay, it takes a lifetime to master these skills, but a good starting point could be being present, also being humble and curious.
That's actually a very deep thought, sir. And you have rightly said, sir, that before listening to others, a person should actually know oneself better. Uh, is the pilgrimage, you know, the tools that you have done, the as we say it in the Hindi or Sanskrit language as tirthatan.
Mhm.
So, does that factors in? How does that factor into you knowing yourself a bit better? Because since you create that space where any individual who comes to you, be becomes vulnerable or goes into that state when the our entire lives it is sort of said that you can't be vulnerable, at any juncture. So, how does that pilgrimage, things shapes it up? Is it just spirituality, or is it just connecting with the nature, or perhaps something that deep thought that comes into your mind?
Pilgrimage or spirituality, and the way we understand all that is that needs redefinition. Typically, we feel that if you go for cover or you pray morning and evening, then only you are spiritual. I feel spirituality comes from the word spirit, and all of us are spirits, souls. So when you get closer to yourself and you know how to do that, that is spirituality. Spirituality is not an outward journey in temples, mosques, churches, or places like Banaras or Rishikesh, okay, or Makkah. It's an inward journey. And how these places help is when you are away from your routine, when you are away from the chore that you do every day, you get that vacuum to explore yourself more. That is missed out if you do this pilgrimage in groups of 50 and you play loud music. That is not spirituality. That is not pilgrimage. I always recommend people going alone, going to the places where not many people know you, so that you socialize less and invest more time inwards. When you go there, hardly anybody knows you. You do not socialize much. You get more time in isolation, and that is missing in your life. Most of the people, they are so obsessed and they are so overwhelmed with their responsibilities at work, at home, social commitments. They don't have the bandwidth to think about themselves. So when you take a pilgrimage, you get that space to look within, and there are certain processes that helps you look within faster and grow internally. So there are certain yogic techniques, certain sadhanas that you can do. If you have a guru or a teacher, he might take you through all of that. So be it doing better at business, doing well in coaching, better at listening, any human experience, if you're spiritual, that amplifies, that gets better. You become a better parent, you become a better husband or wife, you become a better father, you become a better son, you become more conscious. So, spirituality, when you take inward journey, your consciousness rises. आपकी दृष्टि बदल जाती है. Once you can see more, you're more aware. You can take more conscious action that helps you create more result, more value in all dimensions of your life. So, spirituality helps, yes. Pilgrimage helps, yes. But only in the right way if you do. If you're going for cover in group of 100, playing loud music, dancing, I'm not sure. I have not done that. But I believe those guys who do that, they too don't benefit much from it. Maybe it's a recreation for them, not the inward journey. There are people who have seen visiting temples, doing all possible karmakants, and I've seen them, uh, restless. तो अंतर यात्रा से अध्यात्म का संबंध है. It's inside, not outside. And silence, isolation helps you uh, create space for you to take that journey.
So, with this inward journey, how does the breakthrough conversation actually happen? And more simply, as in, what are these breakthrough conversations? If you could expand on that.
Yeah. So here the breakthrough conversation that you're referring to, you might have visited our website. The first conversation that we have with our clients, usually we work with senior folks who are general managers, CXOs, CEOs in large corporation. Before they get into coaching, we need to evaluate whether they are ready for coaching or whether coaching is the best thing for them. Because not everyone who's looking for coaching is what they need. What they need is coaching. So, and coaching is a big responsibility. You are committed to create result. So you must know who the person is, what their aspirations are, where they're coming from, what are their motivations. So in that conversation, we explore their aspirations, their goals. We try to understand them as a human without any judgment, as a leader. We also help them understand themselves so that they are in higher level of awareness. And once the awareness increases and the person has desire to work towards those goals and working on those blind spots, then we suggest them a few ways. One, that they can do it themselves, or if they want to engage with a professional coach, it could be us or anybody else, we show them the option. So typically when the breakthrough conversation happens, a lot of blind spots gets exposed. Many of the truth is revealed. Those are uncomfortable, or maybe nobody else would come and tell you. In the breakthrough conversation, people get their goals crystallized. Many times they end up questioning the goals And if that is insignificant, they either alter the goal or take time to think about the new goal because that's not powerful enough. For many people, that one conversation is life changing because they get to hear, they get to see the things that they never explored in their life or career.
So can we say that the anatomy of the of any breakthrough conversation would be somewhere around emotional truth, responsibility, reflection, and safety?
Combination of all of these and a lot more.
Okay.
So they get to first understand their aspiration and goals better. They get to understand the context where they're operating from. They get to understand what's stopping them from achieving those goals. They get to understand how committed they are towards those goals. They get to understand what are the blind spots they might not be aware of, but they exist. They get to understand whether they want or they're willing to work on their own or they feel the need to have an external help. So it's a very deep reflection and getting to understand themselves a lot deeper. Um, so it's very, I would call it, they encounter the brutal truth.
So it is
And
basically a transformative conversation, sir, not
of
a
course,
story.
every conversation, every coaching conversation is a transformative conversation. Particularly the first conversation is very, very critical because we hold nothing. We tell what we truly feel without any judgment, with a sense of care and empathy and love, so that they get to see where they truly understand. So it's no filter conversation.
So when you like evaluate the individuals, like whether they are qualified or are reach that state of mental awareness that they require coaching or they require these conversation. So what are usually the points that you feel sort of where you reject an individual, the perhaps that they are not ready yet, and where the conversation mostly fails?
Okay. The conversation never fails.
Okay.
So regardless of whether we decide to work together or not, uh, the conversation is always warm and people leave each conversation um, happy. Now, it's not only that we evaluate, they also evaluate whether we are going to uh, work together or not, because coaching is a space which where you have to trust the person completely and you are going to reveal the things that you never did with anybody, and it's not easy to trust someone. So unless that absolute trust and chemistry is felt on both ends, coaching is not likely to work. So the responsibility of creating that space comes from coach's side. It's coach's responsibility to create that space. So the first and most critical factor is the chemistry between the prospect and the coach. Second is clarity of goal. If you're not clear about what you want, what are you going to work on? Okay. Third thing is context. You have a goal, but your context is not powerful enough. Your why of what you want, the why behind it. Willingness to commit. Everyone wants to achieve there, but I do not have a magic wand. I can share a strategy. I work with over 800 people, guided them through the journey. Maybe out of 800, there would be more than 99% people who have created unprecedented, unparalleled, unimaginable result. And we want to maintain that standard. So if the person is not committed, whatever best intentions we have, we can't help. So we check their commitment. We let them know our commitment, what all we are willing to do. We show them a vision of the journey that they're going to take. And if all of these are aligned, we check their openness. When we share the feedback, we evaluate their response. Are they willing, open to receive the feedback, or they're defensive? If they're defensive, maybe they need to work on. I'm not going to persuade you to get coached. Okay. So if all of these factors fall in line, then we are a good fit and we start the journey. If we find a few factors off place, we clarify, we check, we try to understand their perspective. And many times we ask people to get ready. We might recommend them some reading or some courses to prepare themselves to get coached. And on many occasions, people don't need coaching. They probably need therapy at this point of time. So timing of coaching is not right. Maybe they will need coaching after 2 years. Many people look for healing, and coaching is very, very widely used term. And many people in different professions, I think somehow they love to be called coach. So we also help them understand the definition of coaching and what they expect from it, because few people reach out to us with completely abstract idea of coaching. So we clarify, and then they realize, oh, maybe this is not the thing what they're looking for, and they get directed where they want to.
So, in a way, we could say that the ancients have said that the true measure of a person is about how successful they are in being the person they would like to be, and you sort of do that in a very unique and a very interesting manner, sir. Over the years, you have spent and you have interacted by more than there can be more than 500, more than 800 people. Have you found any instance where you have met individuals or leaders who avoid sort of difficult conversations? And what is the cost of avoidance of those conversations that they may face both individually and within their organization as well?
Interesting question. Let me reveal the truth. Everyone has avoided difficult conversation at some point of time. And when they reflect, they realize they have paid a big price for it, including the CEOs of large multi-billion dollar corporations. So if I have to give answer in yes and no, yes, regardless of the level. They could be the CEO, they could be CTO, they could be general manager, all of them, they continue to avoid certain kind of conversations. So now, the conversations which are difficult hold the key to transformation in your life, hold the key to bring turning points. So one of the key areas for our work is also to help people learn how to lead those difficult conversations. Yeah.
So Uh, if going back, a few points, uh, you said that when you began your career and all, and there were somewhat like 50 interviews that you got rejected, or you were not able to secure that.
Mm.
And with those conversations in mind, how does a person should train oneself to face those rejections, and at the same time improve that conversation to that to make that more attractive, that you are able to get into that mindset of an interview.
Yeah. Mm, interesting. What we think, how we behave before we behave, a lot of thing goes behind it. So before you act, you think. Before you think, some firing happens in your neural circuits. Now the question is, what causes those firing in the neural circuits so you think in such a way? That comes from your values and beliefs. How have you acquired them? How you were raised, who you admired when you were young. Every day you receive over a million impressions on your mind. All of them shape you in some way. Whatever values and beliefs that you have developed shapes your thinking mostly unconsciously. We take pride in taking certain decisions, but largely more than 90% of the decisions that you've been taking, you're not conscious of why. So the first thing, being present in the moment. And there are certain programs, certain sadhana you can do that helps you move from doer to seer. तो संतों को कहते हैं ना seer, दृष्टा. तो कर्ता से दृष्टा की यात्रा आपको तय करनी है, so that you are in action and you should also be able to see yourself in action. Because when you are in action, you lose the sense of seer. So as you are able to see yourself, what you're doing, you're operating from higher consciousness. And since you see yourself doing certain thing and you feel that is not beneficial to you and that's not moral or ethical or right, you will intercept yourself from doing it. And then you can flip to being a sage. How to do the right way. So it needs a bit of practice. One of the exercises that I ask many of my clients to do is to find their life values. Because there are 3, 4, 5 fundamental values which uh, influence every action in our life. And we are not aware of those values. So once you get awareness, and if you find any stress in life, anything not working, any discomfort, you'll find there is a mismatch with the values. So if you have been operating with the values and those are empowering, you would have a successful life. If you're facing a lot of difficulties in your life, maybe there are certain values which are not optimal. So you can evaluate those values and maybe switch to more empowering values. So that's one thing. Secondly, there are certain practices that you do, maybe pranayam, there are some mindfulness exercises, meditations that you do that helps you be more aware. And could you repeat the question, Susan? I lost track. You mute.
You are on mute.
What I actually initially asked was that with the conversations and the openness that a person gets, and you facing those rejections in the interviews, how does any individual, shapes one's own mind?
गार्डन गार्डन तो वो इनर वर्क है। आपको थोड़ा उसके लिए सेल्फ अवेयरनेस डेवलप करनी पड़ेगी। आई थिंक गुड वे टू स्टार्ट इज रीडिंग अ फ्यू बुक्स। कुछ अच्छी किताबें हैं। वन ऑफ द बुक्स आई हाईली रेकमेंड इज द पावर ऑफ नाउ। या another is how to win friends and influence people. uh, I recommend everyone to read Alchemist. So reading could be a good starting point. uh, there is a book called Art of Thinking Clearly by Ralph W. So if you start reading now, you get to hear some podcasts too, which could help you gain insight. But I find there's a lot of trash going around there, so you have to be really mindful of the person who you follow and the integrity with which he operates. A lot of podcasts these days are paid podcasts and all, so the integrity is compromised, and what you get to hear is very filtered version of what they share. So if you ask me, the best way to start this journey is through books. There are plenty of courses available online. Many of the courses are very, very cost effective. Pick your area of interest. Do a few courses. Many courses are as priced as low as 500, 600 on Udemy. Some of the courses are good too, because these days many of the reviews are also manipulated, so it's very difficult to trust. So you have to be a bit experimental. But books that too, largely high quality books are published with large publisher, because there is quality control now. Everyone is an author and everyone keeps writing book, and it's become a vanity thing to be an author. So the books like Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, there's so many books which could be a good starting point. And once you have done that, you will have higher level of awareness, and then do a bit of mindfulness exercises. There are plenty of them available on YouTube. Many of them are pretty good. So I also have a couple of them. If you want, I can share with you so that you can share with your audience. And that's where you start. And then the people who are around you, look at the people who are successful, who meet the people who you want to be, who you admire. So what do you like about them? Have conversation with them. These conversations are very, very helpful. Jim Rohn said you are the average of 5 people around you. So select the people who you spend time with. If the people you are spending time with are not the people who you want to be, you probably need to change your friends, maybe your family member. Okay. Starting points, and once you continue practice, stay in awareness, you figure out a way.
Sure, sir. In ways, Ankush may have a question here. So,
Yes, I have a follow-up question on this.
Go ahead.
Like, in what ways do a leader's value and self-awareness quietly express themselves as an executive presence? And do you see that presence functioning like an invisible currency in high-stake environments?
Your internet is weak, Ankush.
Okay.
I'm not able to hear you clearly. Could you repeat the question?
Yes, sir. So my question is that, like, in what ways do a leader's value and self-awareness quietly express themselves as an executive presence? And do you see that presence functioning like an invisible currency in high-stake environments?
Yeah, good question. So, executive presence half of it is presence in this world. Okay. For any optimal human experience, presence is non-negotiable, including how you show up as a leader, how you show up in the boardroom, how you deal with your colleagues, how you operate with your client. So presence, as you rightly said, is it an invisible currency? That is not an invisible currency. That is essential. That is non-negotiable. You are driving, you lose presence, you'll end up hitting someone. You are having dinner, you lose presence, you'll end up hurting yourself with warm food or hot food. So presence is needed in all aspects of life, including leadership, including being an executive. Okay. Now, the second question that you asked is executive presence. So could you clarify what you wanted to know about executive presence?
Like, sir, would you say that kind of presence carry its own, almost invisible from the influence?
I could not hear completely. Could you repeat the question or type the question in the chat box? I'm losing you again and again, Ankush.
Yes, sir. I think there is a
Now you appear to be fine. Go ahead. Repeat the question.
okay. So, like, sir, do you see the presence functioning like a invisible currency in like high stake environment? And like, would you describe the presence as that carry its own, almost invisible from the influence?
Okay. So, if I've understood your question correctly, presence matters everywhere. All the more in high stake situations, in the places where leadership is to be demonstrated. When you are present, you are able to see through more. Have I been able to answer your question, Ankush?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What's the next question?
So, allow me to step in, Ankush. So, with the, the question that he asked is actually a very complex one in many ways. So here comes, there's a particular thing that I would like to ask here. Where does the non-verbal authority comes into the play when we are having in conversations to the executive presence, or the presence and executive divided into different sections? Because it is said that that the silence sometimes speak louder than the words itself. So with the non-verbal authority, they can be like the silence, the stillness, the eye contact, even the emotional regulations.
Yeah.
How does that comes into the play and shape the entire conversations, or the entire perspective that a person uh, wishes to acquire or do away with?
Good question. So, executive presence, let me define it for you. Now you understand presence. Executive presence means when the executive stands, he gets noticed. His presence is felt. Means others take you seriously, they think highly of you, they have confidence in you, they trust you, they believe in you, they feel you are capable, they feel that you can guide them, support them, lead them. Okay. Now, you talked about non-verbal communication. So, if you talk about communication, we can divide it into three parts: visual, vocal, and verbal. Verbal is the words that we use. And largely, when people talk about communication, they talk about verbal communication. Sideline, vocal, and visual. Now, if you look at the history of humanity, it's of almost 2 lakh years, 200,000 years. The oldest language on this planet is 35,000 years old. So for nearly 1,65,000 years, humans communicated through signs, signals, body language. Therefore, whenever you see conflict between the words and the expression, you always trust the expression. Therefore, your visual communication, which is non-verbal, is a lot more powerful than your verbal communication, and you must master it. It's nearly impossible to fake your visual communication, your body language. It's very easy to lie using words, but it's very difficult to lie using your expressions. So when people are lying, their body ends up revealing it. There are micro expressions, movement of our lips, the way we smile, the way our forehead turns, the change in skin color. Uh, you end up giving away a lot more. So many times you just look at into somebody's eyes, and you know the work gets done faster than requesting the person or reminding the person. So that definitely, no, visual communication, body language has the highest impact. Then comes the vocal part of communication. Vocal is your pace, your pitch, your tone, your fluency, your stress, pause. Now, let me ask you something that you receive a phone call. You can't see the person's face, and you hear a voice that sounds like Amitabh Bachchan, and another phone call you receive where the person sounds like Shah Rukh Khan, and both of them give you a command. Who are you likely to follow first, or are you likely to take more seriously?
Mm, well, I would rather go with Mr. Bachchan. Uh, there's perhaps the reason would be not because I know the person, but largely perhaps the gravity of the voice, and perhaps that simplicity which is there, and also the that the simplicity brings a unique strength to it. So
Hold on. Here, that's the vocal communication. Mr. Bachchan's vocal is a lot more powerful. His baritone, his tone, the pauses that he takes, that has a gravitas. So, the second part of communication is vocal. How you leverage your pause. A pause can get things done that the words cannot. Maybe 2 hour presentation cannot. Because when we don't speak, we speak a lot more. You'll have to learn how to leverage those pause. So one of the things that we teach our people is typically all of us are rushing to answer. So if somebody asks you a question, we ask them to take 2 to 5 seconds pause. And when you take a pause, you evaluate whether you're going to respond or you would clarify. You would demonstrate curiosity by asking questions, or you plan to ignore what was asked. Generally, when somebody asks you a question, you have tendency to quickly explain and respond. Refrain yourself from doing it. When you take a pause, Whatever information is sent to you, process the information. You uh, corroborate that with the person's body language, and then you process it and define the message what you have received. And then the message that you have interpreted would tell you whether to ask a question, whether to clarify, whether to respond, or whether to ignore. Most of us end up missing these steps, and we would end up explaining that leads to nowhere. So the most important when it comes to impact or executive presence, these leaders who have solid executive presence, they master visual communication. They have great control over their body language, expressions, gestures, postures. Second is vocal. And generally, when somebody is operating at the top, they're usually good with their verbal skills. So it's felt that, they're already, that's taken for granted. Yeah. So if you talk about executive presence, first presence, then communication. Three parts of communication: visual, vocal, verbal. Now, you don't have to work on all of them. Most of the people are good with many of these things. So identify few areas which are critical to your success. That's what we do in coaching conversations, breakthrough conversation. And let them know. Many times we find people biting the lips. These are charisma killers. Tongue out. You have 1 hour conversation, you move your tongue out twice for maybe half a second. All the impact that you have created is destroyed. Okay. There's some weird expressions people show when they are in the conversation, and they're not aware of. They've been doing it that for decades. So once they get to work on these things, their presence instantly shifts. Most people struggle to take a pause. Those who have low self-esteem, they want to speak more and more, thinking that they speak more, they will be able to persuade or convince the person more. While when they speak more, they give their levers to the other person. So leaders who are powerful, who have solid executive presence, they know how to leverage pause. They usually use lower tone. And the most important thing is being calm. If you want to demonstrate executive presence, because the person who is powerful is always calm, is relaxed, is cool, doesn't get triggered faster. If one has to work on the one thing, this should be the first thing to start the journey.
This being calm is seems simple enough, but is actually a very difficult trait. So, are these individuals, are able to practice that calm in scenarios, be that the boardrooms, the crisis moments, or be those one-on-one conversations where they have are in a state of vulnerability? So, do they still practice that calm in how they approach the situation? They are able to process the information, or are they within those moments able to find how do they seek that calm, and what's the base for it, and why are they not able to achieve it?
Most people struggle with it because when things are not in your control, you're overwhelmed with the things happening around you. It's natural for you to get agitated, get triggered, lose your cool. And many of these leaders do too. We help them develop that. Now, it's something that you can't develop overnight. So you have to build that mental muscle, and it takes months, if not years, and there is no limit to which you can build your mental muscle. There is always some scope to get better at it. So there is a course in which you train your mental muscle through a range of techniques. Okay, you're able to identify what triggers you. You develop higher level of awareness. You do certain practices on daily intervals. That way you rewire your brain. When you reevaluate your values, beliefs, all that contributes to your calmness. And of course, certain exercises like mindfulness, certain breathing exercises, pranayam, etc. All that. So being calm is not something that you turn on the button and somebody gets calm. You have to do months and years of practice, learn a range of techniques, understanding how self-aware you are, how open you are, how less judgmental you are, how curious you are. So once you develop these traits, calmness comes naturally to you.
Developing these traits is, as you have rightly mentioned, a long systematic process. So, within this, journey, do you find that the role of courage versus kindness to be, impacting with the individuals who are practicing their, craft, both in case of the individual who's coaching, that's you, and the individual, the leaders who are coming to you, and why both of these traits, this courage and kindness, are incomplete alone?
Yeah. When it comes to leadership, uh, everyone has different area to work on. You typically start with some psychometric assessment that helps you evaluate what areas you need to work on. And none of these areas are absolute, because in business, if you are kind to one person, that works. But somebody else takes advantage of your kindness and misuses it. So when what I call it intelligence, being aware when you need to demonstrate kindness, where you need to demonstrate courage, where you are going to hold somebody accountable, or where to be harsh. All the leaders and all of us humans, we operate with certain bandwidths. Now, in executive presence coaching or leadership development program, what you do? You expand the bandwidth so that now, earlier you had 5 tools in the kit, now you have got 50 tools in the kit, and you know how to use those tools in what situation appropriately so that you get the best out of it. So it would be unfair to limit it to kindness, courage, or any few skill sets. There could be maybe a dozen or maybe more things that one needs to work on. Each one would need to work on different skill set based on their context, their responsibility. Let's say somebody who is an entry level executive, imagine customer service executive. Their empathy and politeness is a trait.
True.
Whatever customer comes, complains, even if the customer defrauds, a customer service associate is expected to be polite. But the same thing becomes counterproductive if you become a CEO or you become a manager, because you will have to hold people to account. So it entirely depends on the demands of the role that you have. What kind of person? Therefore, each of these companies they have got job description in that they define what are the roles you're going to play, what are the key performance indicators. You need to find out the qualities that you have, whether those are optimal to your responsibilities or not? That would be the right way to evaluate.
So one could say that, given the conversation that we had up until now and the points that are very vital, uh, I as an individual, I might have heard these things, but never. But after listening to you, I've come to realize that these things are, these points, these conversations, they hold more meaning than we actually, give them leverage to sometimes. So one could say that the coach's role is not about fixing, but more like, revealing the inner layers that a person has. And with that in mind, the individuals, you know who you sort of interact with, they can hold space for others without carrying any emotional weight. Is this sort of possible? Because they can be, instances where, as the job demands, that they might have to be, strict. They might have to, sort of give out truth without being perceived as threat. And with this in mind, do they experience the burnout, the loneliness, and the emotional isolation at any given instance?
Yeah, I think that's natural for us humans. All of us do that at some point of time. So do leaders. Yeah. They have been working 17, 18 hours. They've been traveling all over the world. They do have burnout. There are times that they feel that nobody understands them. Their partner doesn't understand them. Maybe their employees, their colleagues don't understand them. Therefore, they need a coach. Okay. So they can express themselves and feel understood. And the person maybe challenges the thought process, expands the thinking, and help them understand themselves better. So leaders are also humans like us. They experience everything that we do.
And with this, it could be rightly said that the quality of any individual's leadership mirrors the quality of conversations that a person has and what he or she avoids.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's
yeah.
true.
And so we circulated a lot of questionnaires within the masses, and the students, they responded very frankly and very, in a very open manner. And hundreds of questions came before us, but it's very difficult to mention all of them. Three questions found us, quite intriguing, and we sort of contemplated upon it as well, putting ourselves into the question. And one such question is by Mr. Ansh Singh. He's a student at Mumbai University.
Mhm.
He says that, how do we speak honestly to seniors without sounding defensive or insecure in any situation?
Good question. To speak honestly, you'll have to first define the word honestly. So typically, the problem is not with telling what you feel, how the message is delivered, who you are delivering to. There, the rapport with the person plays a very important role. If you have bad rapport with someone, even if you say something in a nice way, the person might feel offended. If you have very good chemistry with someone, even if you tell something without filters, the person would be willing to accept. So, what's your context of sharing? That is extremely critical. One of the simplest ways or the techniques that can be used is seek permission before you share. So, I want to share something and I want to be candid with you. So, I might ask that Srijan, I have been thinking about how you are conducting the podcast, and I sense a few areas that you can that can be done differently. Shall I share that with you?
Absolutely.
Okay, or would you allow me to share that to you? So If what am I doing? I'm seeking your permission. If the person is serious, too arrogant, not willing to listen, would say, no, get lost. Of course, you don't say share. You don't say go ahead. Largely, you will notice when you seek permission with humility and politeness, they are open to hear. Now, the next thing is how you share. Many people say, oh, I'm straightforward. मैं तो सीधा बोलता हूँ, मुंह पर बोलता हूँ. That's not a very good quality. You also identify who you are talking to. You cannot talk to your junior same way you will talk to your dad, right? So to ensure that you're polite, you're respectful, you're open. If you're not sure about anything, you can always add that I think, I feel, I have sensed. That suggests that it's not the absolute truth. That is your viewpoint, and you could have missed some point. So, if it's a sensitive matter, first seek permission, then add I sense or I feel it can be done this way. And at the end, leave the question that would love to know your thought. What do you think about it? I'm curious. Okay. So when you share that, you do not operate from judgment. You operate from curiosity, openness, willingness to receive feedback, understand the other person's viewpoint, then they would be more open to receive what you tell them.
So another question we have, it's being asked by our own co-founder, Mr. Akash Srivastav. He says that, sir, how do we stay authentic in environments that reward performance masks?
Performance? What's
Performance masks.
performance masks? Okay. If people are wearing performance mask, then it has a lot to do with the culture of the company or the environment. And you value authenticity, maybe that's not the right place for you. Because the culture is always superior than the individual, be it family, be it city, be it country. So you may not be powerful enough to hold by your values if the environment does not value it. So the best way is to wear mask and look for opportunities to escape. Find out a better place where the value match exists and you can prosper. If you still have to show authenticity, again, operate from curiosity, kindness. Test a couple of times how people respond to that. And the feedback should guide your next step.
So another question, we are taking this last one, is by Mr. Rajat Dubey. He's a student at the University of Calcutta.
Mhm.
Is that we all have a million conversations in our lives, and to Sir in particular, what is the one conversation that any individual, be that a student, may be that an entrepreneur, maybe a leader as well, that must learn to stop avoiding, that they must devote to be the central and the most important one?
I missed the question. Could you summarize in 10 words?
Yes, sir. The question basically says that what is the one conversation that that individuals must learn to stop avoiding?
Okay. A conversation can be divided into hundreds or thousands of categories. Uh, one must do, that's what you mean. So the conversation one must do, you have to give me a bit of context, that in what context, because in if you have to club all of them together, you can say difficult conversation can be of a million types. So I think anything that makes you uncomfortable, any
Would that
any
uh,
conversation that makes you uncomfortable holds the key to your growth. Be it with your parent, be it with your colleague, your partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, boss, CEO, board. If you're hesitating to strike the conversation, you must have that conversation.
so, sir? Thank you so much, sir, for spending your time with us. And it was such a pleasure to have you. And I'm sure we have learned a couple of things. Uh, being and some of the very valuable lessons you left us with. Uh, be the leveraging the pause, the being calm in difficult situations, and so many. If I were to trouble you, sir, what's the one piece of advice that would like to give any new student who's entering into an MBA, or perhaps dreaming to have one's own business, or entering the corporate world? What's the one piece of advice you would give him, uh, and for a future that they all may look forward?
Hmm. Hmm. Live in the present moment. Yeah. All of us spend a lot of time thinking about the future, thinking about the past, relationship, our aspirations. Present is key to greatness, to your aspirations, to your dreams, to whatever business you want to create. If you do what you're supposed to do well, what you're supposed to do, if you do that right and right now, that holds the key to your growth.
Thank you so much, sir. A very
Pleasure.
great wisdom, uh, and it was a pleasure. So, with this, we
Likewise, thank you, Srijan and Ankush. Lovely to have this conversation, and all the very best to you guys.
yes, sir.
Action.
Hello there. Welcome, viewers, to